Between 2023 and 2025, the North American agricultural sector witnessed one of the most spectacular financial collapses in modern history. An estimated $2.5 to $3 billion in venture capital completely evaporated. Massive, billion-dollar companies that promised to disrupt the global food supply with robotic indoor vertical farms filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, or shut their doors completely. The media blamed the macroeconomic environment, supply chain issues, and interest rates. But I am the farm analyst, and when you actually open their ledgers, the economy didn't kill the vertical farming industry. The spreadsheet did. You clicked on this video because you are trying to build an indoor farming business, and watching billionaires lose everything is terrifying. You want to know if this entire industry is a scam, or if there is a way to actually make money growing food indoors without going bankrupt. Today, I'm going to give you that answer. We are going to run a forensic, step-by-step audit on the vertical farming crash. We will break down the exact capital expenditures, the fatal commodity trap, and the physics of the utility death spiral that bankrupted the giants. Then, we are going to look at the 2026 Sober Energy Playbook. I will show you the precise unit economics of how solo operators using 500 square foot micro farms are not just surviving this crash, but achieving 80% gross margins by completely inverting the mega farm model. Let's look at the hard numbers. To understand how to build a profitable farm, you first have to understand how to burn $1 billion. Let's look at the casualties. AppHarvest raised $737 million and hit a $1 billion valuation before filing for Chapter 11 in 2023. Bowery Farming raised over $700 million, reached a $2.3 billion valuation, and by late 2024 ceased operations entirely. Plenty Unlimited took in nearly $1 billion from investors like Jeff Bezos and Walmart, only to see its valuation collapse by 92% before entering Chapter 11 restructuring. By early 2023, venture capital investment in vertical farming plummeted by 91%. The money stopped because the capital expenditure, the CapEx, was fundamentally broken. When a traditional farmer wants to expand, they buy dirt. The average cost of American farmland is roughly $5,460 an acre. When a vertical farm expands, they build an insulated robotic fortress. A basic vertical farm costs $100 to $150 per square foot to build. If you want a highly automated multi-tier system, you are paying over $250 per square foot. Let's look at fifth season. Before abruptly shutting down, they were planning a new facility in Ohio that was 180,000 square feet, which is about 4 acres of indoor space. The total CapEx for that building was $70 million. That is $17 million per acre. If you spend $17 million to build a single acre of farmable space, you now have a massive depreciation anchor around your neck. To service the debt on a facility that expensive, you must produce an astronomical amount of high-margin revenue every single day. And what were these $70 million mega facilities growing? Lettuce. This brings us to the most fatal flaw in the history of modern agriculture, the commodity trap. The mega farms deployed $250 per square foot premium tech infrastructure to grow a low-margin commodity crop that competes with a guy driving a tractor in the California dirt. Let's do the unit economics. The average wholesale price for field-grown California lettuce fluctuates wildly, but it routinely sits between 60 cents and $1.50 per pound. For a vertical farm to just cover its production materials, labor, and massive facility depreciation, its actual production cost is $2.50 to $3 per pound. Therefore, to make a profit, the vertical farm must sell its lettuce to the grocery store at a required wholesale price of $3 to $3.50 per pound. Because grocery retailers demand a 40 to 45% retail margin, that indoor lettuce has to sit on the shelf priced at $4 to $5 a pound. The mega farms tried to justify this by slapping local and pesticide-free on the plastic clamshell. But the consumer perception was brutal. It's just lettuce. Let's run the break-even math on a standard $100 million mega farm. Assume a 10-year depreciation, meaning $10 million a year in fixed facility costs. If your production cost is $2.50 a unit, and you sell it for $3, your contribution margin is exactly 50 cents per unit of lettuce. To pay off your $10 million fixed cost at 50 cents a head, you must grow, harvest, pack, and sell 20 million units of lettuce every single year. That is almost 55,000 units a day, perfectly executed, with zero crop failures, just to break even. It requires massive, flawless scale combined with commodity pricing. It is a mathematical paradox, but let's pretend you miraculously sell 20 million heads of lettuce. You still have to pay the electric bill. And in indoor farming, you are constantly fighting physics. We call this the utility death spiral. In these failed mega facilities, the energy load was staggering. Electricity consumed 40 to 70% of their operating expenses, and in some models, it literally cannibalized 50% or more of their total gross revenue. Here's exactly why that happens. The industry standard energy consumption for a vertical farm is roughly 2,000 kilowatt hours per square meter of cultivation space per year. First, you have the lights. Vertical farms replace free sunlight with electricity. Lighting makes up 40 to 50% of the total energy load. But here is the hidden physics rule. For every 1 watt of LED lighting you install, you require approximately 1 watt of HVAC cooling capacity. If you stack 15 tiers of intense LEDs, you have essentially built a giant oven. You must spend a fortune in air conditioning just to counteract the heat your lights are generating. Then you hit the dehumidifier trap. Millions of lettuce plants continuously transpire moisture into the sealed warehouse. If you let the humidity rise, your entire 20 million unit crop will rot from mold and disease. Traditional commercial HVAC systems pull moisture out of the air by overcooling it until the water condenses, and then they have to reheat that same air back to the optimal plant temperature. You are paying a double energy penalty, cooling and reheating the same air continuously, 24 hours a day. When Plenty Unlimited shut down its massive Compton, California facility, they specifically cited the rising cost of energy in California as a primary killer. Before you build, look at your local utility grid. If you're in a state paying 20 to 30 cents a kilowatt hour, your margins will be eaten alive. If you're in a state paying 8 to 12 cents, you have an immediate geographic arbitrage advantage over the mega farms. This is why the data shows only 27% of indoor vertical farms achieve profitability, compared to a massive 67% of greenhouse farms. When you fight free sunlight, you lose.
So, if a $700 million company can't make the math work, how is the solo operator surviving? They survive because they completely invert the model. They leverage what I call the micro-farm advantage. A modern micro-farm is defined as an operation under 1,000 square feet, run by 1 or 2 people, usually utilizing repurposed space like an existing garage, basement, or a small leased warehouse corner. Let's audit the CapEx of a 500 square foot system. If you buy a premium, off-the-shelf, turnkey hydroponic system for a 500 square foot space, complete with vertical racks, automated dosing, and high-efficiency LEDs, your budget is roughly $50,000. That breaks down to about $100 per square foot. If you bootstrap it yourself using retail grow lights, wire shelving, and basic controllers, you can outfit that same 500 square feet for $10,000 to $25,000. Be careful. A lot of beginners try to buy turnkey shipping container farms for $75,000 to $150,000. Do not do this. You are voluntarily taking on the CapEx burden of the mega farms. Repurpose an existing room or a cheap warehouse lease instead. The real advantage isn't just what the micro farmer buys. It's what they don't pay for. You have an incredible overhead advantage. A massive agricultural tech startup routinely burns $2 to $5 million a year just on C-suite executive compensation. As a solo operator, you pay zero. You aren't paying $25,000 a month for an institutional facility lease. You don't have venture capital boards breathing down your neck demanding impossible growth to justify their valuation. Because your overhead is so lean, your break-even point is incredibly low. A typical 500 square foot micro farm only needs $3,000 to $6,000 a month in total sales to break even. But here is the absolute most important part of this video. If you take that lean $50,000 micro farm and fill it with cheap lettuce, you will still go bankrupt. To survive the crash, the North American solo operator must execute the 2026 pivot. You must match your premium infrastructure with premium high-margin products. Let's look at the 3 most profitable B2B crops for a micro farm right now. Number 1. Specialty microgreens. This is the ultimate cash flow crop. Because the seed to harvest turnaround is only 7 to 14 days, you achieve massive capital velocity. If you sell standard varieties like radish and pea shoots direct to local chefs, the bulk wholesale rate is $24 to $32 per pound. Your total production cost, including seeds and energy, is only $3 to $5 a pound. That leaves you with an incredible 84 to 87% gross margin. Compare that to the 17% margin of wholesale lettuce. Number 2. Culinary herbs. Instead of lettuce, you grow premium Italian Genovese basil. It commands $8 to $13 a pound wholesale, which is a 15 to 25% premium over standard sweet basil. If you grow organic fresh basil, you can push that to $16 a pound. Chefs desperately need highly flavored, consistent herbs year-round, and the margins easily absorb your electrical costs. Number 3. Indoor strawberries. For advanced growers, berries are the new holy grail. Premium indoor-grown strawberries can achieve $8 to $15 per pound at retail, pushing up to $40 a pound for ultra-premium specialty markets. While the lighting requirements are intense, a dialed-in vertical system can yield 160 kilograms per square meter per year, roughly 10 times the yield of a traditional field per square foot. Let's look at the financial architecture of selling direct to chef. When you sell to a grocery store, you capture the smallest slice of the pie. But when you build a relationship with local restaurants, you cut out the middleman entirely. When you sell to chefs, you are building a pipeline of standing orders. A standing order is an automatic, recurring weekly invoice, which gives you predictable revenue. 10 chefs buying $50 of microgreens every single Tuesday gives you predictable, guaranteed monthly recurring revenue without ever having to stand at a farmer's market. If your 500 square foot room produces just 20 pounds of mixed microgreens and herbs a week, and you sell them to chefs at an average of $28 a pound, that is $560 a week in revenue. Annually, that is over $29,000. If you add a small direct-to-consumer layer, like selling 10 pounds a week at a farmer's market in 4-ounce trays for $16 a pound, you add another $8,300. Your 500 square foot garage is now generating over $37,000 a year in gross revenue. With a 30% production cost, your net operating margin is over $20,000 simply by leveraging high-margin crops and direct sales. The final verdict: the billion-dollar vertical farming crash teaches us one brutal, undeniable truth. You cannot scale commodity margins. The mega farms were structurally designed to fail. They spent tech startup CapEx to grow grocery store lettuce, and they drowned in the electric bills trying to fight the physics of humidity and heat. The vertical farming revolution isn't dead. It just needed to get much, much smaller. The solo operators surviving right now are the ones who treat their farm like a forensic accounting firm. They keep their CapEx under $50,000. They grow crops that command $20 to $30 a pound. They build direct pipelines to chefs with standing orders, and they aggressively defend their 80% profit margins. Protect your capital, run the math before you buy the lights, farm with passion, scale with data.